mean, I've had people say, "Oh, it's great that someone like you is not locked up somewhere," like, or even when I was in America a few weeks ago now, this lady, I was buying something, and another customer interrupted me, and she said, "Oh, is that sunburn, or have you had laser surgery?" And I said, "Do you even say hello before you ask someone about their appearance?" And she just didn't get it. And she started saying, "Oh, but I thought that it was..." I said, "No, there's no need to ask me about my appearance. You've never met me." And she said to me, "Well, you must be grateful that someone's even talking to you." And it was quite funny because my friend had just travelled 4 hours to come and visit me. Like my friend who I'd never met, who I'd met through blogging, had just, But there's that really big assumption that because you look the way you do, you'd get less attention in life, or you're less deserving of a conversation. But you were talking about, making the choice to put yourself out there, and put myself out there. Last year, my photo was misused. So one of the things that I've always been worried about through blogging is how, even though I can control my image and story to an extent, how my image might be misused. And I've seen a lot of websites and Facebook memes where people with my condition are mocked and ridiculed. And overnight, one night, I had a huge amount of hits on my blog, and I thought, this is weird, I haven't written anything new. And someone had posted my photo on the What the Fuck forum, and when I woke up, there were like 3,000 hits to my blog, and I clicked on the link from Reddit. And underneath that picture that they posted of me taken from my blog, there was about 500 comments just like ridiculing me, diagnosing me and misdiagnosing me. And some of them told me that I should be dead. So the first thing I did was like, what? And then, because it was about 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning or something, and I put a Facebook status up about what just happened. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to respond to this. And I expanded on that Facebook status and copied it into the Reddit. And within 5 minutes, my post that I'd put had I don't know how Reddit works, but I think they're called upvotes or something. And it had 200 upvotes. And it was just going, I guess that little piece that I'd put was going viral. And when I got home from my day job that day, I posted a blog post including what I'd written and some of the examples of what people were saying. So people were saying I look like a lobster. They asked me if I had a vagina. They said, I dated someone like her before, and and she was horrible or something like that. And just, really, really, really awful, degrading things.
Comments like that, and more to the point, the people who write comments like that, they say so much about themselves and so little about you.
And I worry that these people are raising children and they're in the workforce and they're probably upstanding members of society.
I doubt very much that they're upstanding members of society. I would totally push back on that. I would say they are absolutely not upstanding members of society.
But they present themselves as that.
Well, maybe they like to, but truly people who would ever do that, the fact that they would do that tells me that they're very small thinking, they're very insecure, and really that they live at a very unevolved level, like who they are, because anyone who's truly together would have no desire whatsoever to make a disparaging remark about somebody based on their looks.
It was interesting though, because this happened a couple of times. That was the biggest time, but it happened a number of other times just after it made the media. I'll go back to that in a minute. But when I saw that it happen a few other times, I messaged them directly on the board and on the Reddit forum or whatever it was called, and I said, could you please remove my picture? And they were kind of all ridiculing me more for saying that, oh, she's coming in here crying, blah blah. Anyway, I private messaged the moderator, and he was completely sympathetic, or she was completely sympathetic. Oh, I'm really sorry this happened, we'll take it down straight away. But in public, it was this massive group think and group speak, and it was completely different. So they've got this audience and they're egging each other on to see how awful the comments can be. But one of the things that happened, a lot of the things that happened from Reddit, is that I wrote my post on my blog, and my blog went viral, I guess. And the next morning when I woke up, instead of seeing, I still had lots of hits to my blog, but instead of the negative stuff, all these positive things were coming. People were saying that they came to my blog to gawk, but instead they learnt something. And I had messages on Twitter from CNN, and then in the morning at work I got a few messages to ask if I could have my story told elsewhere. The Daily Mail emailed me and they said, can we use your photo on your story? I said no, but they used it anyway, and surprisingly the comments from the Daily Mail were probably the most supportive I got. News Limited ran my story as well, and I asked them not to open it up to comments because I'd had a previous story earlier in the year and the comments were awful. So I don't want that because that'll just be fueling what's already happened. So they didn't open it up to comments. And then Charlie Pickering mentioned me on the project that night, which was really good as well. And my blog had about, I think it was maybe 80 or 90,000 hits in 2 days, and that post that I wrote about what happened on Reddit has had the most hits that any post on my blog has had by far. So
well, I think your experience with the cyberbullying ultimately and having those people make comments as they do, which I find absolutely shameful and so low level, but really, what has that taught you about who you are and what you can handle?
Well, I remember writing that was one of my worst fears, like my photo being misused. And my friend pointed out that, well, if my worst fears happen, I've obviously conquered it. So that was pretty, to think like that was pretty big. And also to learn, like, when is enough, like how much I could go in to defend myself. And then when I had to step back, because I was getting awful comments on my blog and on other websites, and I ended up not reading them and getting Adam to moderate my blog comments because I just didn't want to see anything that was too horrible.
I think that's fair enough. Why would you bother?
But
and it's not like they're serving some constructive purpose. They're just people who somewhat have got to put others down to lift themselves up in some way.
I think as a blogger or anyone that puts themselves out there, especially on the internet, you have to realise what is a valuable piece of feedback and what's just stupid, and you just let it brush off you. But I think also as well, when I told people that this was happening, I had to tell people that understood social media, because it's easy for someone to say just switch off, but it's not like that. Not if you're an online writer, which I am. Yeah.
What would you say to other people who, for whatever it is that externally is different about them, that they've also experienced being ridiculed or mocked or ostracised in some way? What advice would you have for someone who's hasn't got to where you are in their life journey, who still struggles with fear of the things that you were always afraid of? What advice would you have for them?
That it gets better, that it does get better. I felt that when I was at school, like, would I ever have any friends, or would I ever go out to work or whatever, and I did, and I started working in a department store and then went on to university and then a full-time job and further university, and all those places taught me that sometimes there's at school there, I don't know about now, but back then there was sort of no repercussions for other people's behaviour, but when you're in the workforce and at university, there's repercussions for other people's behaviour, and people treat you with a greater level of respect. Also, maybe don't sweat the small stuff. If you've got a pimple, that's fine. It doesn't. Lots of people get pimples. It's not the end of the world, and probably no one's going to be looking at that pimple. And also to those people who think about making a comment on someone else's appearance, like just in the street, even, like I said, people ask me really intrusive questions. Well, don't. If you're that inquisitive, just maybe refrain from asking why someone else looks the way they do, because quite frankly, if I've been asked by you why I look the way I do, I've probably been asked by 10 people that day, and it's really tiring.
Put yourself in their shoes.
That's right, and you don't need to know why I look the way I do, and I'll probably answer it, and sometimes I'll be polite, sometimes I won't be polite, depending on how that person
what number they are in the
That's right, and how tired I am. But having said that, through all the the negative stuff I've encountered, I've probably encountered, like 1,000 times more lovely people. So that's the thing
I think that's really important to remember.
While
there are some insensitive people out there, there are a lot of lovely people too.
And I've been screenshotting all of my really positive comments on my blog so I can look back on them, or just writing things down that happen, or and when people are really nice, then I thank them and equally polite back.